This is our practical session. This is our program number 2. The programming challenge of that today's practical session is the trip. First of all, students, what is trip or what is the trip programming challenge? It is very easy. The group of students decide travel annually to number of locations. So at that time, one person collect money from other students, and after collecting all monies from every student, they have to calculate the sum, and that specific student spend that monies for the students they are going with or going for trip. After that, after calculating the sum, they find the average. We know what is the average. For example, in the trip, there are three students. They travel for example, Indonesia. At that time, for example, they are collected. First student gives 10 rupees, second one gives 20 rupees, and third one gives 30 rupees. So the students, the sum of that amount is 60 rupees. So we calculate the average 60 upon number of students. The average is 20 rupees. So students, this is very simple practical or program. In that, first student gives 10, second 20, and third one is 30. What is the average cost? The average cost is only 20 rupees. So here, first student gives only 10, means they again paid 10 rupees to achieve the average, and third student pays 30 rupees, means they are they paid more than average. That's why here we have to take on two variables. One is taken and another one is given. Taken, third student taken 10 rupees from the organizer, and first student gives extra 10 rupees for reaching that average. This is very simple and easy practical. This is the summary of that practical. So what is the trip, or what is the problem definition of that the trip? A number of students are members of a club that travel annually to exotic locations. Yes, there are number of students in that program. We only take not more than 1,000 students. We only take up to 1,000 students. So their destination in the past have included India, Indianapolis, Phoenix, Nashville, Philadelphia, San Jose, and Atlanta, etc. etc. This brings they are planning a trip to Indo. The group agrees in advance to share expenses equally, like our trip. We also agrees to pay advance. We do not decide what are the final expenses for that trip. We only shares the expenses. That will be estimated only, but it is not practical to have them share every expense as it occurs. Individual in the group pay for a particular thing, like as meal, hostel, hotel, sorry, taxi, taxi rides, plane tickets, etc., etc. But they do not pay for toothpaste or brush because these are not included in that cost estimation because this is the individual expenses. After the trip, each student's expenses are tallied and money is exchanged. Some are given more monies than average and some are given less money than average. That's why they have to taken and given. So in past, this money exchange has been tedious and time consuming. So for that purpose, our job is to compute from that list of expenses the minimum amount of money that must change in hand to equalize all student cost. So here, when we find the average, we find what is the expenditure for the single or individual student. That's why we change or we exchange the money in between more paid and less paid than the average students. If you refer the PDF of that programming challenge, you have to get input and output from that PDF as well as what is the sample input you are given after implementing the program as well as what the output you have to get from the program. So the input is standard input will contain the information for several trips. So in that input, they have number of trips that will be happening in the past. So you have to input that specific information. The information for each trip consists of line containing a positive integers only. That is n number of students on the trip or in the trip, followed by n lines of input. So first of all, you have to enter number of students. For example, there are 3 students. So on the first input line, you only enter 3. After that, on the next line, you have to enter the cost estimated for first student, for example, 10. On second line or next line, 20. And on next line, 30. If there are 3 students only, each containing the amount, and that amount is in a dollar and cent. That is the specific which will be spent by the student. There are no more than 1000 students and no student spends more than $10,000. So here student $10,000.00, that is 10,000 is a dollar and 00 is cent. So a single line containing 0 follows the information for the last. In that, when you have to execute your program, what is the output or how the output is gained from that program. So for each trip, how that output is occur on the line. The output a line starting the total amount of money in dollars and cent means how much of amount that will be collected at the beginning of the trip. And after that, that must exchange to equalize the student cost. And after that, you have to exchange. If 10, that will be less than average. As per the previous discussion, I told you first student pays 10.00, second student pays 20.00, and third student pays 30.00. There are 3 number of students. So we have to get here the sum, that is 60.00, and we get the average. After calculating the average, we get 20.00, means according to the cost estimation, the average cost is 20.00, and that will be paid only by the second student. First student pays only 10.00 and third student pays only third student pays more than 20.0 means what? 30.00. So here we have to equalize the amount. Means first student pays less than average. That's why we have to given or we have to taken 10.00 for getting the total average. Means they pay or the student first pay 20.00 and third student pays 30.00. That will be more than average. That's why we have to taken we have to given that student 10.00, not taken. We have to given them student. This is the sample input and the sample output that provides in the programming challenge PDF, the tree. So as per our previous discussion, there are three students. So line number one consists three students. First paid 10.00, second paid 20.00, and third pays 30.00. So in the program we calculate their sum, we also calculate their average, and in sample output how much of amount we have to exchange in between first student and third student. We exchange $10.00. This is the first input. This is our first input and this is our first output. This is the second input, that is in that second input we have to take on four students and they have to pay 15.00, 15.01, 3.00, 3.01 students. The sample output or the exchanging of money in between the second example or in the second example, that is 11.99 in between the students. So this is our programming challenge. This is very simple. You have to execute that practical on your laptop. After that you make your account. As per our previous discussion, we have to make our account for C competitive programming on online judge. So you execute that program on online judge also and check the output with sample input. Here I have explained some of the code or the code for the trip programming challenge. In that studio.h, math.h, these are the header files. We have to include that header files. After that, we define array that is cost 1000. In our problem definition, not more than 1000 student as the input. Then next, integer n cost. Here we have to refer that n cost for number of students. Sum cost, we have to getting the sum of that 3 students or 1000 students for example. Then that sum cost function, sum is equal to 0, sum is integer type variable, and after that we have to sum them, and that function is called in main program. So in main program, in for loop we scan n cost, means what? Number of students. If n cost is equal to 0, then the sample input is 0 and we didn't get any sample output. So that line is blank, and that also defined in the problem definition. Student, if there are more than 0 means what? For example 3. So int c is equal to 0 and that for loop is executed until 3 students, means what? N cost. So here we have to take on two variables, that is dollar and cent. So when we enter the input for the program or sample input for the program, we enter 10.00 for the first student, second 20.00 for the second student, and 30.00, that is the third student. 30 is the dollar and 00 is the cent. So after getting or after scanning the input from the user, we multiply dollar, that is 10, with 100 and added the cent with that dollar. In our Indian rupees, 10 points, suppose 50 paisa, 10 rupees and 50 paisa, like as $10 and 00 cents. So student, here we calculate the cost and we have to store into the cost array. So first student paid 10.00 means in the first index of cost of C we have to store 1000.00 means 10 into 100, 10 into 100 plus cent is what? 00. So 1000.00 save into cost of C. Like as 2000.00, and for third student we enter 30.00 means what? 3000.0. So here we calculate the average, and for that average we taken the sum cent. At that place we have to get the cost, sum cost means what? 60.00 and divide by number of students. So as per our previous discussion, if the student paid more than average, that will be taken the money, and if student, sorry, given the money, and if student paid less than average, that will be taken the money. So students, in next for loop we calculate the cost of exchange in between the two students. So double delta cent cost of I, for example, cost of I minus average of cent. For example, if we have to take here the student third, they have to pay 3000.00 minus average, that is 2000.00 means what? They have to pay more, that is 1000. So they are taken 1000 from the organizer, and if the cost is less than the average, so they have to give 1000, that will be paid student number 1. So that for loop is for taken and given. So after that for loop we have to print the output, and that output is appear like as the sample input given in the program. So every student, please perform that practical on your laptop. You have to execute that practical. The logic is same. Execute with your different type of implementation. Means not every student the program is same. Every student change their program. They have to perform different types of logic for the program. Only the limitation is that the sample input and the sample output, that will be given in the PDF of the program. So students, it is mandatory to each and every student to execute their program on online judge also. I have checked the output of each and every program on online judge at a specific time. I told you, when I check the program, it is possible to take your username and password of online judge from you. Thank you. So perform the practical